If you truly understood that the next 90 days are the crossroad of your life, you would not waste another hour. You would not excuse, you would not drift. You would rise like a man on trial for his future, because that is exactly what you are. 90 days is long enough to recreate yourself beyond recognition, and short enough to waste with a single shrug. The man you are 90 days from now will either bless you for the decision you make tonight, or condemn you for your indifference. There will be no middle ground. I have watched men linger 10 years in mediocrity, only to transform in 90 days of burning desire, definite purpose, and ruthless discipline. Henry Ford needed months, not decades, to turn his vision into a company. Edison needed weeks, not years, to push through his failures until the light appeared. Carnegie, Schwab, Rockefeller, every giant I studied understood one thing: condense time. Live as though each day were a lever that multiplies the next. If you act as though the next 90 days decide your entire destiny, you will think differently, speak differently, move differently. You will carry yourself with urgency. You will cut away distraction as if it were poison. And the world, confused by your sudden intensity, will yield. But if you treat these days casually, if you drift, you will not merely waste a season, you will waste the man you might have become. Because life does not give back squandered time. The man who drifts 90 days will drift 900 more. So hear me carefully. In this message, I will hand you a framework to follow every single day for the next 90 days. A plan, a pattern, a formula. If you obey it, your identity will be reshaped. If you neglect it, your defeat will be your own doing. You need not wonder what to do. Each day will carry its command. Each day will build upon the last. Each day will move you closer to the man you have always promised yourself you would become. And make no mistake, today is day one. The clock has already started. Your future is waiting to see what you decide right now. So fix your mind on one definite chief aim and live the next 90 days as though God himself decreed your success must be proved now or never. If you do, you will awaken on the 91st day a different man, stronger, wealthier, freer, and certain of who he is. If a man were to awaken tomorrow with the realization that the next 90 days contained the judgment of his entire life, he would not allow himself to sleepwalk through them as he has through years past. He would rise with urgency, for he would know that 90 days of definiteness outweigh 900 days of drift. Time is not measured in hours. It is measured in intensity. I have watched men squander 10 years of life in idle wishes, yet compress a lifetime into months once they seized a definite aim. The world does not reward the man who takes his time. It rewards the man who commands time to obey him. 90 days of burning desire, sustained with discipline, contain more wealth of opportunity than decades wasted in hesitation. Consider Henry Ford. In the span of months, he turned failure into triumph by persisting through ridicule until his vision of a motor car for the masses became undeniable. It did not require decades to alter the world. It required concentrated effort within a short, definite period. 90 days of such labor can move mountains if the mind behind them is aflame with purpose. Edison did not allow himself the luxury of drifting. He failed thousands of times, yet each day carried him closer to light. His relentless trials of filaments were not strung across idle years of indecision, but compressed into fierce sequences of focused days. Within weeks, he advanced farther than most men advance in a lifetime of lukewarm effort. 90 days used as he used them, equal immortality. Andrew Carnegie seized opportunities with such decisiveness that fortunes were born in a season. He did not linger for perfect timing. He knew that every moment of hesitation aged into regret. When others wasted years considering, he conquered in months by daring, deciding, and persisting. His steel empire was not the child of delay, but the fruit of urgent action condensed into short, powerful spans of time. Yet observe the drifting man. 90 days pass, and he treats them as though they were crumbs beneath a loaf of years. He excuses, he postpones, he indulges. But those 90 days wasted are not a season lost. They are a decade delayed. For the habits he builds in 3 months chain him for 3 decades. The man who drifts 90 days becomes the man who drifts 900 more. The difference between the two men is not opportunity, but urgency. One acts as though every hour is a verdict, the other as though hours may be bargained with tomorrow. Life does not honor tomorrow, it honors today. The man who treats 90 days as sacred will harvest the fruits of decades. The man who treats them as casual will awaken to find his destiny already spent. I tell you plainly, time is elastic. It stretches for the drifter until 90 days expand into years of wandering. But for the man of definiteness, time contracts. 90 days of intensity collapse, 10 years of experience. The difference is not in the clock, but in the consciousness with which the clock is obeyed. This is why the next 90 days hold power beyond your imagination. Do not believe that you may waste these days and recover them later. Life does not return squandered hours. The world is filled with men who thought they could delay the decision, only to find that the decision had already been made by their neglect. I have studied the lives of hundreds of great men, and I tell you, they all acted with immediacy when their moment appeared. When you treat 90 days as though eternity is bound within them, every conversation, every task, every thought takes on significance. You no longer speak casually, for your words are commands to destiny. You no longer drift idly, for your time is sacred. You no longer excuse, for excuses purchase nothing. You move as a man on trial for his future, because that is precisely who you are. I have witnessed men who delayed their purpose until age had stolen their vigor. Their regret was not that they lacked years, but that they wasted the short seasons that could have transformed them. It is not age that robs a man of greatness, it is drift. 90 days, seized with definiteness, can redeem a wasted past, but 90 days, wasted in indifference, can damn a promising future. Therefore, I command you to fix your mind. These 90 days are the pivot upon which your destiny turns. They are long enough to recreate yourself beyond recognition, and short enough to be lost with a single shrug. The clock has begun, and with every tick it demands to know whether you will rise as a master or sink as a drifter. There will be no middle ground. Say with me now, I do not drift, I decide, I do not excuse, I act. The next 90 days will purchase the life I desire. Repeat this until it echoes within your subconscious. Burn it into your identity, for only when your subconscious believes it with unwavering faith will your actions match the urgency required to seize destiny in this brief span of time. Remember, you are not being asked to toil endlessly without result. You are being asked to compress effort into a concentrated period where results multiply. This is how you save 10 years of wandering, 20 years of indecision, 30 years of regret. By acting as though 90 days decide your life, you command life to yield its treasures now instead of withholding them until age and chance deny you. The man who walks out of this trial unchanged will have no one to blame but himself, for I have handed you the truth. 90 days are sufficient. I have given you the law. Definiteness collapses decades. I have shown you the examples. Ford, Edison, Carnegie. I have armed you with the affirmation, I do not drift, I decide. Now the choice is yours, and the clock is already moving. Desire is the great beginning of all achievement. Without it, a man may live 90 years and accomplish nothing. With it, he may live 90 days and accomplish what others could not in half a century. A vague want will stretch itself across decades without fruit, but a burning desire ignites such force that months are sufficient to bring forth wealth, mastery, and destiny. I discovered through decades of study that every man of greatness was first a man consumed by desire. Henry Ford desired to give the common man the automobile. Thomas Edison desired to harness light. Andrew Carnegie desired to master steel. These desires were not faint wishes. They were obsessions that burned so fiercely within them that they compressed years of progress into short bursts of inspired action. A weak want whispers and then fades. A burning desire roars, and it does not rest until fulfilled. If your desire is weak, 90 days will pass without progress, and you will call it fate. If your desire is burning, 90 days will move mountains, and you will call it destiny. The difference is not in chance, but in the intensity with which your heart demands its aim. Are you? Darby's uncle stopped 3 feet from gold because his desire cooled at the sight of defeat. He quit, and decades of wealth slipped away. Darby himself, having learned from this, carried a burning desire into insurance, where rejection could not cool him. Each no only hardened his fire. Within short years, he sold more insurance than others sold in lifetimes. 90 days of persistence, fueled by desire, built his fortune. Consider Edwin C. Barnes, who desired not merely to work for Edison, but to be his partner. He did not drift into Edison's presence by accident. He arrived ragged, without money, but with desire so fierce that Edison saw it in his eyes and gave him a chance. That chance, seized with passion, led to partnership. From that desire, pressed into daily action, a man rose from poverty to wealth within months. Andrew Carnegie confessed that the steel empire he commanded was nothing more than the crystallization of desire. He desired riches so intensely that he carried no doubts. His obsession for mastery of steel shortened the years, so that within a few decades he stood among the richest men of earth. 90 days of Carnegie's burning pursuit equaled decades of another man's wavering attempts. If you, too, wish to compress time, you must kindle within your heart a fire that does not flicker. A desire to earn more money, if weak, will die the first time hardship appears. But if it is burning, it will laugh at hardship and press on. A desire to create wealth for your family, if lukewarm, will vanish in comfort. But if it blazes, it will endure hunger, ridicule, and defeat until it triumphs. I urge you now to declare with intensity, I desire with all the fire of my soul. My burning desire shortens the years into days. I demand riches of life, and life obeys. Repeat this each morning until it becomes part of you. For without desire, faith has nothing to cling to. Persistence has no cause to fight for, and decision has no aim to strike. Time itself bends before burning desire. 90 days for the man of lukewarm wants is but a season. 90 days for the man aflame with purpose is a battlefield upon which decades are conquered. Look upon the examples I have given you, and understand that what they achieved was not by accident, nor merely by talent, but by desire so consuming that it demanded fulfillment now, not later. If your desire is weak, strengthen it. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Picture it vividly until your whole being is restless without it. Let it haunt your sleep, command your waking hours, and push you into action without delay. For when desire becomes obsession, the world bends to accommodate it. 90 days lived under such fire will transmute thought into reality. The man who fails in 90 days does so not because life denied him, but because his desire was not hot enough to overcome his own excuses. The man who triumphs in 90 days does so not because life favored him, but because his desire burned so fiercely that no obstacle dared withstand it. This is the law I have proven through the study of hundreds of men. Desire is the fire that shortens time. It is the unseen power that transforms hours into years of progress. It is the spark that ignites faith, the fuel that sustains persistence, the aim that decision serves, and the magnet that attracts the mastermind. Without it, you will drift. With it, you will rise. With it, 90 days will be sufficient to rewrite the destiny of your life. So kindle it now and keep it aflame. Do not allow ridicule, fear, or temporary defeat to cool it. Protect it as the sacred flame of your destiny. For with desire burning, every day becomes multiplied, and 90 days become sufficient to shorten a wasted lifetime into a season of triumph. This is the fire you must carry, for without it, the next 90 days will be wasted, and with it, the next 90 days will redeem decades. Faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of desire. Without faith, 90 days are a stretch of empty toil. With faith, 90 days are multiplied into decades of achievement. It is the medium through which thought is transmuted into its physical equivalent, and the bridge by which your burning desire passes from imagination into reality. A man may hold desire in his heart, but unless faith supports it, that desire remains only a dream. Faith is the belief so strong that no obstacle appears permanent. It is the inner certainty that what you have demanded of life shall be delivered. Faith is the hand that seizes opportunity and the voice that commands persistence to stand guard. Without it, 90 days vanish. With it, 90 days become a miracle. Henry Ford was ridiculed for believing that a car could be built for the common man. The world laughed at his vision, yet his faith in himself and in his idea was greater than the combined doubt of his critics. Within months of decisive action, he created results that others had failed to produce in years. Faith condensed time, turned ridicule into respect, and gave him mastery. John D. Rockefeller faced scorn when he pursued oil. Others abandoned it, calling it uncertain and unstable. His faith in oil's future allowed him to endure where others retreated. That faith was not passive. It commanded him to act boldly, to organize, and to persist. Within years, his empire stood unshaken. It began not with resources, but with faith so strong it transformed 90-day periods into turning points for destiny. Thomas Edison never recognized defeat, for faith shielded him from despair. When one experiment failed, his belief was not that he was defeated, but that he was learning. Faith allowed him to compress the toil of thousands of attempts into the triumph of one invention. Had he lacked faith, he would have wasted years. With faith, he converted failures into stepping stones, shortening the journey to victory. Faith is not hope. Hope waits. Faith commands. Hope wishes. Faith insists. Hope postpones. Faith demands. Faith speaks to the subconscious mind until it accepts belief as fact. Once belief becomes fact in the subconscious, infinite intelligence arranges circumstances, resources, and opportunities to fulfill it. Faith is not a timid companion. It is a ruler, a master, a law. 90 days lived under its rule will prove it to you. Autosuggestion is the instrument by which faith is built. By daily repetition of affirmations spoken with emotion, your subconscious is instructed to believe. Speak aloud. I believe with absolute certainty. My faith makes these 90 days sufficient to purchase a new destiny. Speak it until your subconscious accepts it, until doubt vanishes, until every action you take reflects its truth. This is how faith is forged. The man of doubt loses decades. The man of faith compresses decades into months. This is not imagination. It is law. When your mind is convinced that success must come, your entire being aligns toward its fulfillment. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You persist where others retreat. You act swiftly where others hesitate. Thus, faith multiplies time, making 90 days worth more than years without it. Every fortune I studied began with faith. Carnegie's faith in steel was unshakable. Schwab's faith in his own capacity lifted him from obscurity to leadership of men. Lincoln's faith in the preservation of the Union sustained him when others doubted. These men were not lucky, they were faithful. Their 90-day periods of decision and struggle became the hinges upon which history turned. You may believe that 90 days are too short, That is because you measure by the calendar, not by faith. With faith, 1 hour is more potent than a year of doubt. With faith, a single conversation may unlock a partnership. With faith, one decisive action may change the direction of an entire life. Faith bends time and magnifies results, condensing what others accomplish in decades into seasons of achievement. Without faith, desire is crippled. Without faith, decision falters. Without faith, persistence weakens. Without faith, the subconscious is unmoved. But with faith, all these forces are amplified. With faith, your desire becomes a consuming fire. With faith, your decision becomes final and unshakable. With faith, your persistence becomes immortal. With faith, your subconscious calls upon infinite intelligence and miracles obey. Therefore, for the next 90 days, faith must be your constant companion. Each morning, affirm it. Each evening, confirm it. When fear whispers, replace it with faith. When doubt intrudes, command it to depart. Do not allow your mind to entertain defeat, for thought is power, and faith is the magnifier of that power. Guard your mind as you would guard treasure, for faith thrives only in fertile soil. Say it now. I believe with absolute certainty. My faith makes these 90 days sufficient to purchase a new destiny. Repeat it until you feel it burning in your chest. Write it, speak it, meditate upon it until your whole being resounds with it. Faith must not be theory. It must be the air you breathe. Only then will 90 days suffice to alter your destiny forever. Faith is the medium of condensed miracles. It is the force that shortens time, transforms desire into riches, and makes 90 days worth a lifetime. Without it, you will drift, excusing your failures as fate. With it, you will command the future, and the world will obey. Fix it now in your mind. These 90 days lived with faith will buy you 10 years of progress, 20 years of freedom, 30 years of destiny. Indecision is the thief of decades. It steals more years than poverty, more opportunities than failure, more happiness than misfortune. The man who hesitates drifts, and the man who drifts wastes not merely days, but entire seasons of his life. 90 days can only purchase transformation if each hour within them is governed by decision and enforced by discipline. Andrew Carnegie, whose steel empire became the foundation of American industry, was known for his swift and firm decisions. Once he resolved upon a course, he did not retreat. That decisiveness allowed him to seize opportunities that others lost through hesitation. Men of indecision waited for certainty, but Carnegie created certainty through bold action. 90 days under his decisiveness equaled lifetimes of another man's wavering. Abraham Lincoln, in the darkest hours of the Union, faced division on every side. Advisors urged compromise, delay, or retreat. Yet Lincoln, though patient in temperament, was decisive in principle. He chose to preserve the Union at all costs and disciplined himself to endure criticism, setbacks, and the weight of war. His decision, once made, never faltered. It shortened history, compressing years of chaos into a single resolute purpose. The habit of indecision is subtle. It whispers, wait for the right time, gather more information, see what others think. Thus 90 days vanish without action, and once 90 days are wasted, 900 more follow. Discipline is the remedy. Discipline demands that once a decision is made, it is carried out regardless of mood, fatigue, or circumstance. Discipline is the knife that cuts away excuses. I have observed that successful men make decisions quickly and firmly, and they change them, if at all, slowly. Failures make decisions slowly and change them often. This is not accident, but law. 90 days demand that you decide swiftly, act daily, and discipline yourself to endure discomfort. Without decision, your desire dies unborn. Without discipline, your decision crumbles into dust. Edison, in his laboratory, faced countless failures. He decided to find light, and that decision became final. His discipline carried him through thousands of experiments. Each day he acted, not because success was certain, but because his decision had already been made. Discipline refused him the luxury of surrender. Thus he achieved in months what others abandoned in despair. The 90-day man must live as though hesitation is poison, for indeed it is. Each hour of hesitation is an hour stolen from progress. Each excuse is a thief that robs you of compounding results. 90 days is short. You cannot afford indecision. Decide today, act today, and discipline yourself to repeat it tomorrow. This rhythm obeyed will transform you into a man of power. Say it with me. I decide quickly, I stand firmly. Each decision builds the fortress of my 90-day transformation. Speak this aloud until it becomes identity, for identity commands behavior. When you see yourself as a decisive, disciplined man, you will act as such. And when you act as such, the world bends to respect and follow your lead. Carnegie once said that no man can become rich without resolving to be definite. I extend this further. No man can transform in 90 days without the twin blades of decision and discipline. They cut through fear, they carve paths through difficulty, and they pierce through the fog of doubt. With them, you are unstoppable. Without them, you are lost. Remember that discipline is not harshness. It is loyalty to your own decisions. It is love for your future self expressed through present obedience. When fatigue tempts you to rest, discipline reminds you of your vow. When distraction tempts you to drift, discipline draws you back to purpose. Discipline, practiced for 90 days, forges habits that will guard you for life. Do not deceive yourself into thinking you have endless chances. Each day of indecision carries interest that compounds into regret. Each day of decision and discipline compounds into destiny. 90 days may appear small, but under decision they magnify into years of progress. This is the knife's edge upon which your life now rests. Wield it with courage. So let this be your law. I decide, and I discipline. My 90 days are ruled by firm choice and loyal execution. I do not drift. I do not delay. My decisions are final. My actions are daily. My discipline is unbroken. By this law, I purchase decades in days, and my destiny is sealed. There is no principle so decisive in shortening time as persistence. Desire gives birth to the dream. Faith sustains belief in the dream. Decision chooses the path toward the dream, but only persistence guards the dream until it becomes reality. Without persistence, the other forces collapse. With persistence, even small efforts compounded daily for 90 days become irresistible. R.U. Darby once failed by quitting 3 feet from gold. That single act of surrender cost him millions, yet he learned from it, and later, in insurance, he vowed never again to stop short. His persistence, his refusal to be dissuaded by rejection, lifted him into the small group of men who sold over $1 million of insurance annually. 90 days of unbroken persistence forged a new destiny for him. Charles Schwab did not rise from obscurity to leadership of the great steel companies by chance. He persisted day after day to prove his worth, to outwork competitors, and to stand firm where others yielded. His persistence drew the attention of Carnegie, who trusted him with responsibilities that would have crushed weaker men. Persistence multiplied his opportunities, condensing decades of advancement into mere years. Henry Ford's first automobiles failed. His early ventures collapsed, yet he persisted. He refused to let defeat become final. Each model that broke down, each investor that withdrew, each ridicule he endured only sharpened his determination. Within a short span, his persistence produced the Model T, which transformed the world. Had he yielded in those first 90 days of struggle, his name would have been forgotten. Edison, whose thousands of experiments often failed, persisted until light was captured. His persistence compressed centuries of ignorance into a single generation's advancement. 90 days of repeated failures meant nothing to him, for he understood that persistence, not genius, was the mother of invention. The man who persists, even when others laugh, creates miracles within seasons. Persistence requires a daily pledge. For the next 90 days, you must not allow excuses to govern. Each day, mark whether you persisted or yielded. If you persisted, you have compounded your power. If you yielded, you have weakened your chain. 90 days of unbroken persistence create a habit that will shield you for life. The habit is greater than the achievement, for it guarantees future victories. Say this with conviction: I persist without excuse. I continue without retreat. Each day adds weight to my purpose. This affirmation, repeated morning and evening, burns persistence into the subconscious. When temptation to drift arises, your mind will recall this vow, and your will shall obey. 90 days of this practice will make persistence natural, automatic, unshakable. Men waste years because they lack persistence. They begin with fire, but extinguish themselves at the first storm. The man who persists, though storms rage, compresses those wasted years into short seasons of growth. 90 days of persistence, where others quit, give you decades of advantage. For while they begin again and again, you continue, building strength upon strength. Persistence is the proof of desire, the evidence of faith, the companion of decision. Without it, you reveal that your desire was lukewarm, your faith was shallow, your decision was hollow. With it, you prove that nothing can deter you, and the world yields. Life tests every man by defeat. The man who persists turns defeat into stepping stones. The man who quits makes defeat his master. Remember, excuses are the language of drifting. Persistence is the language of destiny. For 90 days, you must outlaw excuses from your vocabulary. Do not say later. Do not say too tired. Do not say tomorrow. Say only, I persist, and then act. 90 days without excuse will purchase for you 10 years of mastery, 20 years of progress, 30 years of freedom. Persist, and you shall not merely endure, you shall advance. Persist, and you will astonish those who doubted you. Persist, and you will awaken on the 91st day with a strength that no man, no circumstance, no misfortune can deny. This is the law, tested by the lives of great men, and now placed in your hands. Obey it, and no obstacle shall stand. Controlled attention is the lever by which 90 days move the weight of years. Attention is the currency of life. The man who scatters it across distractions loses decades. The man who concentrates it upon a definite chief aim multiplies his progress tenfold. 90 days of concentrated attention, applied without drift, compress entire lifetimes of wandering into a single season of advancement. Thomas Edison mastered controlled attention. In his workshop, his mind was not divided among 1,000 trifles. He fixed his attention on the solution before him, and he bent every hour to its service. That concentration, repeated daily, made light a reality. He did not allow idle chatter, doubt, or secondary pursuits to dilute his focus. His 90-day stretches of intense attention yielded breakthroughs that altered the world. John D. Rockefeller applied controlled attention to oil. While others dabbled, distracted by opportunities that came and went, he focused entirely on mastering this one resource. His concentration upon efficiency, organization, and expansion transformed oil into the lifeblood of an industry. He did not scatter his energy across every venture that sparkled. He focused, and his fortune multiplied within years instead of decades. Charles Schwab, entrusted with the expansion of Carnegie's steel empire, controlled his attention so strictly that even in times of crisis, he fixed his mind upon progress. Where others panicked, he concentrated on opportunities. This discipline of mind allowed him to compress immense burdens into manageable tasks, transforming 90-day challenges into victories. His power was not in genius, but in controlled attention. Abraham Lincoln, in preserving the Union, displayed extraordinary mastery of attention. Surrounded by rivals, critics, and distractions, he directed his focus toward the singular aim of unity. 90 days in his leadership equaled centuries of wandering debate. He refused to scatter his energy upon petty disputes, concentrating instead upon principle and purpose. Controlled attention gave him the strength to endure and triumph. Attention is life's lens. Scatter the light and it burns nothing. Focus it, and it cuts through steel. For the next 90 days, your task is to narrow your lens upon your definite chief aim. Each morning, write your aim. Then ask, what 3 actions today advance this? Do them without delay. Guard your attention from diversions as you would guard treasure from thieves. Say it now. I control my attention. My attention magnifies my power. My attention compresses time into victory. Repeat this each day until your subconscious obeys, for habit governs attention. The man of drifting habits scatters. The man of disciplined habits concentrates. 90 days of controlled attention will rewire your nature to focus upon what matters and discard what does not. Distraction is drift's companion. It whispers through gossip, idle pursuits, and endless postponements. It seduces you with comfort and novelty. But distraction is poison, and 90 days of indulgence in it cost you decades of opportunity. Controlled attention is the antidote. It cuts through noise. It trains your mind to ignore the trivial and magnify the vital. 90 days of this practice forge an unbreakable lens. Do not deceive yourself into thinking you can multitask your way to greatness. Great men did not scatter themselves. They concentrated. Ford upon the automobile, Edison upon light, Carnegie upon steel, Rockefeller upon oil. Their focused attention made them giants. 90 days of their concentrated effort were worth centuries of another man's scattered living. This is the power now within your reach. Guard your attention as you guard your life, for indeed they are the same. Each day of drifted attention is a day stolen from your destiny. Each day of controlled attention is a day invested toward riches, mastery, and freedom. Within 90 days, the compound power of controlled attention will be so strong that distraction will lose its hold, and definiteness will rule your mind. Therefore, make this your vow. I control my attention. I direct it toward my definite purpose. I protect it from thieves. My 90 days are ruled by focus. My days are condensed into power. My years are redeemed from drift. This is the law of controlled attention. Obey it for 90 days, and you will never again be its servant. You will be its master.